Okay, hi everyone. This is Ralph Vasami. I wanted to do a little bit of a swing analysis on Miguel Cabrera because he's certainly arguably the best hitter in baseball right now. And a lot of people bring up his swing of how it's great and perfect and he stays through the zone so long. And there's also a lot of talk about whether the barrel uh, drops and whether we actually swing with an uppercut through the ball to drive it and to hit it high out of the yard. And for those of you that know Chris and Greg and I at Vasami Training, you know that we're always talking about top hand, or hands a little higher, and then hands getting forward to the ball. Even slightly saying hit through the top of the ball and staying through the top of the ball. And the reason for that is that the barrel naturally drops below our hands when we're hitting a baseball. And I think a lot of the time when people are talking about you swing with a slight uppercut and that you want to hit the bottom of the ball, the rotational school, the Mike Epstein school talks about this a lot. What they're really talking about is the barrel path to the ball, not the hand path to the ball. So I would argue that most instructors teach to the barrel path as opposed to the hand path. And what we at Vasami Training do is we teach, and we think it's easier for kids and hitters just like us when we were learning to understand where you want your hand to go as opposed to where you want the barrel to go. Because if you get your hands to the right place and you get those through correctly, and you can focus on very specific parts of your hand to do that, then the barrel should naturally lag and follow. And yes, it will create that bit of an uppercut, so to speak, that will lift the baseball, but you don't have to actively try to do that. So what I thought is let's take a look at Miguel Cabrera's swing and break it down and show exactly what I'm talking about. So this is a home run that he hit against the Tampa Bay Rays. The first thing is when he starts, he does start his hands a little lower than most hitters, and even hitters in the big leagues, and even hitters that where we would teach a hitter to go. But it's perfectly okay in his case because he actually hasn't gone to his launch position yet. So what we're going to do is fast forward a little bit and show where he then goes. So he picks his foot up and he's creating separation, gets his hands here. So when his toe and foot land, okay, right about here, right here, you see he's raised his hands a little bit and his top hand is approaching the level of his ear. And if those of you that know us, you would know, and actually this next frame you see right there, his hand is actually at the height of his ear almost, which is not far away from where we teach our kids to get their hands up by their ear or their head or something around there, because it creates maximum separation and then maximum torque once you go from there. So let's just chart. If we were to chart his hands, okay, if I use this tool here and we chart where the hands are through the swing, right, we would say his hands start right about there. So let's just follow his hand path to this ball. So the hands actually go from here to here. Okay. And then they go here. And they get forward even more. And then they get forward a little bit further. And now this is where you're starting to see extension. So right here at extension, you see where the hands are, right about there, at the height of the little above the waist, and then there's lift and roll and wrist roll through that swing. And then he finishes high. Okay, so if you look at that hand path, I would argue that the hands are starting high. They're actually coming down into the ball slightly because that creates a short, quick path with natural movement to the ball, especially if you match that with the bottom, the back foot and the back knee. But you see that those hands are actually moving, if anything, they're moving slightly downward and then forward through the hitting zone until you're actually at almost at extension, where you then start to then lift out of that zone. So again, those of you that know us, you know we always talk about hands above the ball, top hand forward, and then snap, flick, punch, whatever the word might be for that specific kid, forward through the ball, and then finish high. Release and finish high. However, if I were to back this up, and we go back to the beginning, right about there, okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to chart the barrel. And I'm going to switch this and we'll make it yellow. So if I start the barrel right about there, okay, on every point of that hand path, we're going to chart this barrel. All right, and what you're seeing is it's actually tough to follow the barrel a little bit because there's so much whip that he's creating early because of the torque and because of the separation where his hands are. So if we get to right here, it's very tough to see. The barrel is somewhere around here. And then if we get to here, again, it's tough to see, but the barrel is somewhere around here. And then at contact, right there, that barrel is there. And then through extension, the barrel's there. And then we finish high. So if you were to see the barrel path, you would see those yellow lines, and actually I'll add a yellow line back here because that's probably where that barrel is going from there. You see the barrel is always under the hands. So the barrel path is actually going to look like what people are talking about, which is this almost, circular uppercut looking thing, especially from, if you were to go from let's see, from this area here, people would say, whoa, that's an uppercut. You have to swing under the ball. However, what we're showing with the hand path right here is that it's actually a downward forward movement with the hands, which then comes up almost like a U, is kind of a U shape there, which then creates a bigger U shape underneath it with the barrel. But we would never tell a kid to swing with an uppercut or swing under the ball, because if the barrel drops below the hands, and if our hands were to drop any lower than Miguel Cabrera's hands in this swing, then the barrel drops further under that barrel line I created, and we would actually swing underneath the ball and lose all of our power, because now we're not going to keep our hands inside the ball and drive forward through it. And again, I talk about this, we always talk about this all the time, which is driving a baseball is no different than if you were to push somebody standing in front of you. Okay, we want the barrel to get to and through that zone as long as possible. So we would step and we would push through somebody standing in front of us. Okay, we wouldn't drop our hands and then push upward at that person if we wanted to drive them high through the back, somewhere back through a wall. So this ball Miguel Cabrera hit was actually a home run, high out of the yard in center field, but he didn't have to actually drop his hands in order to do that. The natural dropping of the barrel took care of that. So here's one example of what we talk about. Again, just summing it up, we are teaching hand path to the ball as opposed to barrel path to the ball, and I think that's a key difference. Thank you.